And greetings and salutations, my psychedelic children, my beautiful souls, and welcome once again to the expose in the art of conversation. We've got nothing. I am your host, Catalyst Jost, coming at you once again. Actually, I correct myself. I am actually coming at you from the concrete jungles of New York City in Bronx. And I am joined here today by a unique guest. He is the author of Oh Shit, They're Killing People. He is a very devout horror fan. Please help me welcome one Mr. Patrick Hayes. How do we do, my sir?
My guy, it is a pleasure, absolute pleasure to be on here.
Now, before we go into the nitty gritty, let's nerd out for a little bit. Now, we were talking before about a lot of, some of the horror projects that came out this year. We already went through Scream 6. Folks, if you have not seen Scream 6 yet, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Go see it now. Normally I wouldn't suggest this, but I would say pirate it due to the controversy behind the lead star and all that. Because any studio that doesn't support the end of such violence that is going on overseas, I gotta be real with you, dude. Not cool. But either way, find a way to see it without necessarily buying the product. Yes, you can quote me on saying that. Where I was going with it originally was, you and I both saw Thanksgiving. Now, what is your interpretation of that?
I saw it as almost an ode to what a horror movie used to do and used to be. Mm-hmm. The fact that, spoilers, he straight up based somebody, he based them, which is bonkers, and puts the thermostat in there and it pops up, that's horror movie stuff that was done before, that I guess the people of that time saw scary and didn't find funny in any way, but it added to what the genre normally does, that makes something scary.
See, in my opinion, it was such a love letter to the slashers of old, because every few minutes I would see a reference. For example, the opening, the first person perspective going into the house, that is classic Halloween.
Exactly, 100%.
And towards the end where there is that dream sequence with the fire and the villain, that evoked the ending of A Nightmare on Elm Street, and I also saw references to Texas Chainsaw. This was a love letter to horror fans, by horror fans. Shout out to my man Eli Roth. Dude, sure. Still, after, God, yeah, he would have been directing, at least 20 years by now. He's still got it, and still doing something new with the genre. Well, not necessarily new, but, almost breathing new life into it, because it has all the slasher tropes, and the kills are signature Eli Roth. Violent, turned up to the max.
That's all I'm looking for. That's exactly what I'm looking for. It's there are horror movies that come out that kind of... I understand the reinvention of a genre, or trying to push it in not further, but in a direction that it hasn't been. Or even pushing it in a different lane. Same direction, just a different lane. It's in a right or left. And it's been alright. It's been good, but nothing has got me where I'm literally, oh man, grabbing my chest a little bit. Just even if it's not super scaring me, but I'm part of it. I'm it had me wanting to be in a horror movie, wanting to watch a horror movie.
Now, what was your favorite kill?
It gotta be that based. When he based that, oh my god, and then the thermometer pop up. To me, that was just absolute horror movies.
There was definitely some dark comedy in there. The obvious answer would be the scene where he makes one of the characters into a turkey.
Yes.
But, God, I gotta give a real big shout out to one of the opening kills. Not necessarily the main opening, but where that one character gets sliced in half by, of all things, a fucking garbage dump. That was
ridiculous.
There was so much ingenuity with this. This, again, it was a love letter, but here's what I also like. Roth always has had a unique knacked for like echoing like different social issues with his horror films. This was also the same because there wasn't just horror references. There was references to consumer culture, the craze on Black Friday, and like also being in a corporate capitalist run society, and like separating like those who are in charge and who aren't. Like I feel like there could have been much more that was divulged into, like things could have been expanded more, but the way that the movie ended, it leads me to believe that there would be a sequel, which if there's not leftovers in the title of the sequel, I will be very disappointed.
100%. I don't even know if I go pay for that.
Exactly.
Come on, leftovers gotta be in there.
I mean, the tagline I'm pretty sure is there will be no leftovers. So,
So we gotta play around with it. Absolutely. I'll take a Thanksgiving too.
Yes. I'm also a gamer myself. Do you enjoy horror games?
Absolutely. It's one of my fondest memories is playing the first Resident Evil.
Oh my god,
And,
yes.
and having the Chris Redfield figure and losing the knife behind the radiator, my brother getting mad, and all this kind of... Resident Evil was something that I was obsessed with. I could play that game... that's one of the games, very few games I have in my life at all, where if I start playing it, I gotta play it all the way through. And I got maybe 4 of those. That every single time I gotta play it.
Yeah, no, I experienced something similar to this year. I had bought in the remake of Dead Space.
Oh.
Now, that, for my age, Dead Space was my Resident Evil 1. Like, going through the corridors and all that jazz, and, like, the unique way that they made the gameplay, like, completely making the hood part of the gameplay, that was ingenious. And then seeing it brought back to life with the remake, which was essentially just like reinvigorating the graphics, I felt like a kid again. I did not stop playing that like for at least a month.
I have to play it. The unfortunate thing is that's the one of the few games that actually it makes me nervous. It makes me nervous to play it. I love Resident Evil. That's the thing. So I'm playing it. I'm like, oh, that's scary, haha. But I do like it. Even when you play 7 and it comes at you, where spoilers. I mean, it's been out for a minute, but when you meet Mama and she comes out of the thing, then you fight her, scared the shit out of you.
Oh my god, yeah. Resident Evil 7 is one of those games that is hard for me to complete, not because of how difficult it is, but because how fucked up it is. Like the scene where Marguerite comes through the window and her vagina essentially it turns into a bug's nest. One of the best pieces of body horror. Let me put it this way. If I cannot watch a certain scene from a movie or a video game because of how fucked it is, you know it was done masterfully. That's the true sign of horror, when you have to shed away from it because of like how it affects your mind.
It's horrible. I played the game in VR for 15 minutes.
Oh, are you shitting me?
You're so concerned for me. Yeah, I played it. I was like, yeah, cool. It looks really great. And I fucking never played it again. But back on the Dead Space, the same thing happens. I played the new one, which they added so much more dialogue and scenes. Mm-hmm. Almost like someone they made this game. Someone made a novelization of this game, and then they made that into a game. They just added more, and it still makes me so fucking nervous. I can't. Like the ambiance is so horrible.
There is always a tense nature, and I think part of it has to do with the fact that like you are such in a condensed setting. Like the Ishimura itself feels like an open world, even though it's a very select few levels, because of how the story like progresses, and how as it progresses, you progress through the spaceship itself.
Yes.
Like, it's a shame that games don't do that anymore. That like, it's not necessarily, it's more about the open space and open world, like the freedom and variety, but there is a certain, and this depends on the genre too, there's a certain like nuance and steadiness, and like you can still pick up on lore and gameplay if it's more condensed and a little bit more narrative driven. The problem with a lot of open world games nowadays is that there's so much to do, so much to so many places to go that like if you don't have ADHD, it's going to activate that part of you that might.
I already had to make the choice to play this game out of 25 choices.
Oh
now you're gonna give me more choices in the game. It's you're absolutely right about that. Where they don't do that anymore. So my genre ends up turning to fighting games and JRPGs. Because the JRPG, they have to be like, here's the story, or they didn't do their job, and that always keeps me going. Is those two games being a gamer. When I step out into any other genre, racing for sure, any racing games. I'm one of those Gran Turismo people. Like I really go for it. But it's another one of those situations.
Leaning more towards say television and movies. I've had this conversation a million times with Saturn. Would you say like horror has gone through a different kind of evolution in the past few years? Because you see this with especially with Scream 5, Scream 2022, when in the opening sequence, like Jenna Ortega's character references like stuff like the Babadook and Hereditary being quote-unquote elevated horror. That was a different term that I had never came across before. And one of the biggest things I've always argued is that like there's a certain art when it comes to cinema itself. There's argument that it's being replaced by stuff like Marvel movies or like shows like anime and stuff like that. When I say, in my opinion, really the art of cinema has switched places and now firmly in the horror genre. You look at movies like Hereditary and Midsommar and the Babadook and stuff, and they've gone a complete overhaul. Like, it's not just like flat out jump scares and in your face scares, but something more like incredibly disturbing, something that like gets under your skin, that sticks with you. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And what I find interesting about that term, elevated horror, is that elevated horror is almost like an ancient view's description on the word terror, because that is what they're instilling in those movies. Horror is meant to be horrifying, so it happens in a flash. It happens in that, not a jump scare per se, but something happens and it's like, oh shit, like it really comes at you. But in terror, they're implying something, and sometimes they show you and sometimes they don't show you. And they touch on things that you don't exactly want to hear or talk about.
Yeah, the biggest thing is, I forget who said this, but the biggest scare is does not come from the dark necessarily. I'm paraphrasing here. Does not come from the dark, but what can and probably is lurking within the dark. It's what you can't see that really gets under your skin and makes your soul just shiver.
Exactly. There's movies like The Witch.
Yep.
Where in The Witch, I felt like I was walking in on someone's family that I should not be watching what I'm seeing. Like I'm actually invading privacy. That's the exact feeling I was, invading privacy. Especially when you have the son, Anya Taylor-Joy bends over to pick up the baby, and her breasts are showing, and the son looks at her breasts, and he kind of like they linger on him for a moment, and they show you that it's arousing him. And then he looks away, and before that even happens, they're pushing forward this God-fearing family, and this is before any possession happens too. So it heavily implies that evil can come and take a spot here now, because they are engaging in evil, because he's looking upon his sister in such a sexual way. But it's that kind of thing that makes it horrifying now, because now that when that kid is possessed, he's really like fucked. Like this kid, his skin is like fucked up. Like it's almost like he's being punished for doing such things.
For just having intrusive thoughts.
And having intrusive thoughts. And I felt intrusive watching the shit.
Now, with the genre of horror, regardless across all platforms, that's including visual, reading, audio, what inspired you to have such a love for the genre, and what has inspired you to really make that the kind of genre that you want to engage in a creative sense?
Because it's simple. I'll have to give the genre that clarification that compared to other genres, it is simple in the sense that I understand death, and I understand what's scary about this. finding out what's scary about falling in love and writing a romance story and including that fear in that story, you have to experience that yourself to really get an accurate feeling for that. But I don't want to die. so when someone's dying in a movie, it's like, okay, I for sure that's fucking scary, and I understand that completely. But writing in other genres, you really have to, especially on speculative fiction, where you have to put your mind ahead. Where someone like Philip K. Dick is thinking in 2035, and the guy's from the 60s. But what inspired me to really do so, how simple it was. So when I wrote the book I wrote, I decided one October, you got to get writing, you got to get going. And I realized that horror was a little simpler, and I said, just kill people. I just want to kill people. And I almost immediately got the name for the book, Oh Shit, They're Killing People.
Right.
Everything that it is came, of course, after, but that's how it got me writing. I was like, just write killing people. And write scenes that you're killing people. Just write a scene where you're killing someone. And this scene, which I realized, is just a short story.
It's so interesting, too, because one of my author friends actually referenced... they've written horror, fantasy, and romance before. And they told me, in their opinion, that the two most popular narrative genres when it comes to narrative fiction are romance and horror. Why? Because they represent the two dualities of human existence, life and death. With romance, it represents like how life is created, like the feelings, the romance, and like just being connected with another soul, like beyond the spirit, beyond flesh, and all that. But when it comes to horror, it represents horror itself is referencing fear, and the biggest fear that humanity has, is the fear of death. And death can come in a myriad of ways, both from the normal and from what our imaginations can cook up, be it like within the realm of reality or hell, what we might see when we go to sleep at night. Mm-hmm. Being a kid who has always had like nightmares and night terrors and stuff like that, horror was just like an easy genre to latch onto. Because it's in a way it's not exactly fighting fear, but it's more or less showing the world why you're afraid, like within the inner mechanisms of your mind.
Absolutely, I as well suffer from night terrors, and it fucking sucks. To be stuck and paralyzed like that is fucking annoying.
The paralysis demon at the side of the bed.
And I swear, the one that stays in my mind all the time is that there was Avengers Endgame had just come out. And I was stuck in sleep paralysis, and I was like, damn, and I was trying to get up, and I was trying to move, and I saw what exactly looked like the Ebony Maw, like that kind of character, but his head was in the ceiling. Its head was in the ceiling.
What the fuck?
So I couldn't see its face, and it walked around one end of the bed and came to the front, and it stayed there a little bit, and then I fucking pulled up, and it was gone. And it really sucks. And you're right where... It almost felt like fighting it, because my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie is The Dream Warriors.
Yeah, Dream Warriors.
Definitely like, hell yeah. I definitely want to be in here and stop this, because it really fucking sucks. And it's played in my mind a little bit, where I had one where it wasn't exactly scary, but I was laying on the couch, I fell asleep, and I heard my brothers arguing. Like really loud too, and I really wanted to get up and like go over there and see what was happening. And I couldn't, I was sleep paralysis, but I pulled myself out of it, and I went to the kitchen, and then I realized one of my brothers had moved to Tennessee 6 years ago. Oh, and so I'm like, how do you even hear this dude? And I didn't even realize this dude was even here, because I was in a dream state, but I could still see my kitchen, because you're like half awake when you get stuck. It's really fucking annoying. But that definitely inspired me to love horror, because I had to deal with some scary shit.
And like using creativity, especially when it comes to writing, is a great outlet. Now, with that being said, going back to it, your book, Oh Shit, They're Killing People. I had an opportunity to really deep dive into it today. There was some interesting works that I was just like, wow. And there are some questions I do have. Like, the first thing I cracked open was All Eyes on Tragedy. Now I looked at that, and to me, it gave me like it wasn't just poetry. It was, but like I feel like that could be like song lyrics. Was that something you were going for, or was that just like off the top of your head?
There's 100% a song. I went on YouTube and I looked up music and instrumentals, and I got some synthwave kind of like music, and I let it play for. They normally put a compilation on YouTube, and it's like an hour video, but then you can click the times in the description. And I clicked on the second and third one, and I heard the song, and I was like, "That's cool," and I wrote the lyrics to that song. Because I figured if I just write the lyrics to a song, but then you don't have the music, it's just a poem, right? It clearly reads like a song for sure, but I've always enjoyed reading music. I think my two favorite bands, three favorite bands, Black Sabbath, Coheed and Cambria, and the Black Dahlia Murder. Especially the Black Dahlia Murder. Like, they're writing Shakespeare to metal. And it's crazy
Really?
sometimes. There are times where I'm like, damn, I gotta remember some of my Shakespeare knowledge to come read this.
I actually got the chance to see Coheed and Cambria at Welcome to Rockville Music Festival down in Daytona Beach. Oh my god, they are phenomenal live.
God.
Yeah, and was there any reference to with All Eyes on Tragedy? Was there any reference to All Eyes on Me with Tupac Shakur? Or you mentioned more metal artists, so I assumed you were going for more that kind of sense because that fits well with the horror genre.
And I was going more for like, I was actually thinking, you know the band 303?
Yeah.
I was thinking like that.
Okay.
I was thinking like that because if it's sung, which I can't really sing too well, but and you're all alone. In the nightlife in our past, and baby, you're so bold. It's very much like that. It's very synthwave. It's very synthwave. But there are a couple. There's one in the back. Recipe for a Sloppy Joe. That's a rap song, and that's more like special ed, like like that. It's very much like that.
Trailing off from that main subject for a sec, I've had these conversations with a few of my friends now, because being down in Florida, there is a huge electric music or like rave music scene down there. Like you got EDC, you got Forbidden Kingdom, you got one of my good friends really put it best. You see people nowadays going more for the music where like there's not lyrics or like or those like big riffs or rhythms that define music in the past, because you see a lot of people like using these modern beats to like really place themselves, embody like the person that they want to be. In other words, becoming the main character. Would you agree with that? And also, what's your personal opinion on like something like that being more in front of the zeitgeist?
So in essence, you mean that music that makes you feel like the guy? Like do you remember those memes with the Dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. That song does get me to feel like powerful. Absolutely. Where, because I felt it, I do believe it, yes. I do believe that it's a strong feeling because music absolutely evokes feelings. But the feeling that the music that makes you feel like the main character, that definitely has become a mindset that I would say Gen Z has really elevated to the top, because it's always the younger people who are making what the mindset ends up becoming in a few years, because they're the people keeping the mindset over the years. In the same way that our generation generally created the Toonami vibe. So if you listen, listening to breakcore, you're listening to like that kind of. Everyone who made that is us.
Like, I recognize that there is a place for it. I think there's a place and situation and mindset for all musical genres. For me, though, like, I was just raised, like, having, like, not only the melody and the rhythm of the instruments going on, but, the lyrics told a certain story. Like, that's my big thing, being a storyteller. Like, the lyrics of a song, like, really make a lot for me. And with the absence of like lyrical content from some modern day stuff like the modern day electric and rave scene, it's a little bit off putting, you know.
Because now that genre has the one thing that not a lot of genres exactly have, is the fact that you're supposed to feel its music. That's one of the main things. You can feel rap, you can feel jazz and all that. Well, jazz, you're supposed to feel it.
Yeah, right.
But you can listen to jazz. Those people are depending on feeling that quick, that boom, boom. I think it's a tough thing to try to get lyrics going again, because now you're depending on a whole generation of writers to come through, and if they're enjoying the writing as it's happening in their generation, then it's a little tough to say it needs to be improved upon or try to improve it. I do think sometimes it needs improvement, but in the same way that I'll hark back a little bit on the earlier conversation, and just to mention, I feel like that they/them, that horror movie, could have been written with so much more consideration, with so much more horror consideration. I do not think that movie was inclusive of people in the horror genre. It did not come out like, dude, whoever wrote this didn't
exactly
want to write,
right.
They didn't care to do so.
Now, sifting through some of the your works in Oh Shit, They're Killing People, there were times where I was like, I'm wondering if this was based off true stories or maybe even personal experiences. Like, in particular, the man stabbed in the throat and killed in Akron. Like, you being a New York boy, like, this coming from Akron, Ohio, did you read a story or, like, base this off of some kind of news clipping?
I based it on the idea of a news clipping. So,
okay.
How the book is structured is that I'm telling short stories. I'm telling short horror stories. That's all I'm doing. In between these short horror stories, I put songs, as well as news reports. You're gonna get maybe 3 or 4 news reports in there throughout the book to go in between the stories. Because my idea was killing people. I thought to myself, how many ways can I kill people in this little anthology that I'm making? So aside from short stories, I kill people in the news thing. Every single song is about killing someone. So All Eyes on Tragedy, that spoilers for it, that guy is killing some girl he met at a club, and simply because she trusted him. And the lyrics are like, you trusted me, now you're gonna die for trusting me.
What astounds me is just like when you say short stories, like these stories are fucking short. Like like the biggest one I think is like 5 or 6 pages. Like, and it is extremely difficult, like writing a cohesive and absolutely terrifying narrative within that short time span. Was there ever any difficulties, like writer's block, anything like that?
So that is the one thing that I will allow my confidence to burst through at the moment. That's my ultimate goal as a writer. I want to be the master of a short story. The master of it. I come from the world of, or come from the reading world, but I enjoy, is the pulp fiction, pulp novel, and pulp comics.
Okay.
And they were masterful in the same way that Rod Serling was masterful with giving you an episode in 30 minutes. And the one season that lacks in Twilight Zone is the one that was an hour long, and it's very unfortunate that we don't have that too much. Like when a show is 30 minutes, I'm immediately watching that. Because I'm like, you can do it in 30, you got me. And that's what I wanted to get. And I entered a contest from thewriter.com, and it was about you had to include light in the story. So I wrote this short story about a space woman who goes to this planet, and her using her ray gun is their like, oh, how are you using this light? Oh my god, like it's just their reaction. And one of their criticisms, their good criticisms that I had to pay $50 for. They're like
$50.
You can enter for $25, and then if you pay additional $50, we'll give you criticism.
So you're paying to have people like say their opinion on it?
Yeah. I was like, wow, that costs money. Okay, sure. and I really wanted to know because I read the story and I was like, I think I did good. I think this is solid. I want to think they know. And it was 2,000 word minimum. I got my review back and my story wasn't chosen, but they said we had to read it twice because we had to make sure you had 2,000 words because the story had a lot in it and you fit a lot in 2,000 words. I was like, damn, that's a fucking solid compliment. I really needed to hear that. And after that, every story I wrote, I tried to keep super short. If I could do it super short, that means if I write a novel that's 100 pages, I'm going to give you a novel that's 100 pages that feels like 2. Because some of my favorite movies either are an hour and a half that feel like 2, or 3 hours that feel like nothing. Like I'll watch Batman and Logan, no problem. They don't feel like 3 hours at all. It does not feel like that. And so Lord of the Rings doesn't feel like 3 hours to me.
Right.
I'm sitting there and I'm writing that motherfucker. So it's that's what I want to do with that was try to be a master of a short story, which back on the idea of horror being simple. Sometimes that's all it is. All it is, it's just you. Give me a scene. If you give me a horror scene, that's a short story.
It's not about quantity; it's about quality, and I think that's something that is missing from like a lot of viewers' attention nowadays. Like they want more of it, but like, are they getting what they put in? Like, are they getting what they paid for? Are they getting what defined previous generations in terms of entertainment, horror, or like whatever genre? Even going back to again the blow of open world games, like it's okay if you're the main character, but if everyone's the main character, how is that special anymore? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Where I kind of feel it when I play MMOs. I play a lot of MMOs. I really like playing that genre of game because you're just online with people doing shit, and it's fun to just fuck around with random people, and that's cool. But I never really always felt like the story was like there enough to get me. Maybe Final Fantasy 14 online.
Yeah, right.
That game's cool story wise, but it's Final Fantasy. I expect them to go crazy every time.
Right.
The Lord of the Rings online game is Lord of the Rings. Like, and I'll give it to Warcraft. Warcraft. They're the one, and I do care about the story, but it's not Lord of the Rings.
It's not Lord of the Rings. Yes. Now, from oh shit, they're killing people. The first. Do you need to answer that?
Just an alert.
That'll make it into the final copy. So from oh shit, they're killing people. One of the first story I actually cracked open was Breathless. Like when I saw this, that was the one that told me that like I feel like there is a little bit of personal experience going through this. Because it wasn't just like some random news story going through it. It was kind of its own thing. But like, it was its own thing amongst a collection of what is their own things. Can you illuminate more on Breathless itself?
So, Breathless is the name of it.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of those in there, and they're called On Death. And those were throughout the book as well. So aside from short stories, you're getting these. I'm trying to keep your attention in this way because this was meant to be a digital book, and okay. I knew I was writing for. I was like, I don't even want to print this. I want to be digital, and so I know that the people who when you're on your phone, if I don't grab your attention in such a short time, you're out of here. So these little pages they add to it, and On Death being in between these stories, that's one of the things where that is real. Every one of those is an actual story, and me thinking about death or talking about it or something that happened, and that story Breathless, me being about the last time I thought I was going to die. I really thought, if I go to sleep, I do not think I'm going to wake up, and that was COVID-19.
And going what you're saying, like keeping the viewer's attention, that strategy like makes me think of all the little skeletons in there that have the word bubbles, and I love the morbid comedy of ignore this person, ignore the skeleton, like keep reading on. there were parts where like some of the dialogue, like I feel like it was almost like some of the characters that were getting killed in the stories. Like again, that was just another strategy you used to like keep the viewer's interest.
Did you go for cover to cover in the book,
Uh,
or you open random ones?
I would open random ones, and every single time, like the skeleton would come up, I was like, "What? Wait, what the hell?" And it was
So,
like, "Oh,
so when you read it from cover to cover, there's something there, because really what's happening is I'm writing short stories. And I'm just killing people. These stragglers that I've come to call them, they do not belong in this book. They don't. They don't belong in this book at all, and they're actually bothering me the whole fucking time. That's why I'm telling you to ignore them. I don't want these things in this book at all. There's even one on the fucking back. There's one on the back, and I fucking can't stand that motherfucker. They're not supposed to be in the book. And when you read the book from, when you read the last pages of the book, I solved that problem. I do my best to solve that problem.
a little bit of a mystery there," which encourages people. Are you trying to get this? You said this was originally going to be a digital book. Are you? How's the process with that going? Getting it onto a more streamlined digital platform.
So, the book is a hardcover.
Yep.
And it's $25. And I understand for supporting a random writer online, $25. I can see that's kind of high. I would prefer to read it digital, if I'm being honest. And there is it's on Gumroad, where someone could just post their own stuff and make their own money instead of going through a whole. I really want to self-publish. I really want to. Actually, Saturn and I experienced that the other day. I don't like being told what to do with a story. I really hate I just want to make the story.
There it is.
And if you don't like it, hey man, I'm sorry. All the people I love have done that way. Harlan Ellison, George Lucas. Those people don't want you to come through and like maybe this is good. Like from your perspective of what it's not coming out of your head. And Harlan's favorite famous line: "Where the fuck were you when the page is blank?"
Oh, yo, okay.
What the fuck's going on here? But there's definitely links to it, which I'm sure I can give you, of course.
Yep, we can save all that towards the end, which will be coming up in a sec. Now, Saturn has illuminated me. Does this have anything to do with little-known comics? I know very little about that particular organization or collective. Lesser-known comics.
Oh, no. This book particularly?
Yeah.
No, it's something I self-published. I'd love to do it too. If I ever thought about doing it too, I always thought that there should be comic work in it. I can mix the two, because I come from the world of magazine comic books, and so when you read magazine comic books, you got a lot. You didn't just get comic books; you got short stories. Like there are Chris Claremont is the guy known for making the X-Men who the X-Men are. If you love the X-Men, that's because it's Chris Claremont's fault. That guy perfected what the X-Men are, and created so much of what we know now. And Chris Claremont has a short story in a Vampire Tales about Morbius in a magazine. And as opposed to a comic book, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm getting that, but I'm getting so much more in this thing. It costs a little more, but I'm getting a comic book, I'm getting a short story, I'm getting like weird shit. Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, of Shang-Chi, or Shang-Chi, which I was going to pronounce it in the movie. You got like real martial arts like kata in there. And they gave you so much in the magazine. So that's another thing that made me want to structure the book that way, is that I want you to have more than that. There's even a little game in there.
Oh shoot! I hadn't seen that yet.
Yeah, it's a whatever kind of game, but it's if you participate, it's interesting. I tried playing it a couple times, and I died a couple times. I was like, fuck.
Shoot, sign me up.
Yeah. Something I really want to do is stretch my game design for that, and try to add more games to little books like that.
Now, finally, with the artist industry, like, and various things ranging from AI to viewer attention span and all that, like, playing factors, does it give you anxiety at all about, like, being a writer? Because I've heard a lot of people, I don't believe it because I write myself, but, like, do you give any thought to, like, writing being a dead like art genre like in the future regarding all those factors I just listed?
No. one of the things that comics and learning about comic books and their creation teaches you is that there's kind of an assumption that the people making the comic books are all the same, like people, and they're not sure how it's made. Mm-hmm. But I've met so many artists where they can't craft a story. They can craft the images of one in their mind, like watch a trailer in their mind, but the trailer's only 2 minutes, and you need it to be 22 minutes, and so it's interesting thing to see happening now, where the writing of a story is becoming more invested in the people, mm-hmm. and less about the placing me in someone else's shoes in terms of fantasy.
Right.
It's almost like they want us to wear everyone else's shoes, and it's the fiction was always like that. Especially 60s, 70s fiction is very fantasy oriented, and then 80s, 90s, where things like these teen movies. Mm-hmm. and Spider-Man just as a sidekick being a hero, like all these getting to know the people, the storytelling is always becoming like that, and we're at the height of it where a lot of the stories, if they're not about people and them progressing and being kind to people and just understanding who we are and who we're changing into, then that story kind of gets like, you didn't do anything, you didn't do anything special, and all you did was make up story. And I was like, damn, I mean...
Well, like, kind of like what Chris Rock says in Jay and Silent Bob's, like, you a tracer!
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm interested in learning about people, but why does it have to be constantly just... why are you lacking the fantasy of it?
Where's the imagination?
Where's the imagination where you're able to put me in a space, but still make it about, like, people?
Exactly.
And they've done it before. That's the thing. They've done it before. Everything we watched before, everything they grew up on, that's what they were doing. And I don't think it'll go away. I just think it has to have certain pockets of acceptance pop up again.
Gotcha.
Because that's another thing that keeps happening is that people start accepting horror movies, and they start accepting horror in general. When they were burning those EC comic books, they were burning all these books that were thinking, well, it's atrocious shit. And they come to acceptance where like, oh, you know what? Well, it actually shows us this, that. Like, okay, so you can see a little more. Like, of course.
Well, folks, when it comes to horror as an art form across multiple plateaus of creativity, be it visual, audio, literature, video, anything like that, flat out, folks, we've got nothing. Mr. Hayes, I would love to thank you for coming on this wonderful podcast, for your amazing book that I definitely am going to pay a copy for, because that shit's actually pretty good. Now, is there any ways you want the listeners to follow you in terms of social media, or like to help grow you as an artist in terms of clout?
Absolutely. Everything can be found through my Instagram, which is at Tray of Lasagna.
Oh my god!
You'd think it'd be a writer name, right? But my name's there. My name's there. It says that I'm a writer, but I just love that one.
Oh my god! And is there a link to this, or like not necessarily, obviously not a link to follow it digitally, but like to order physical copies or anything like that?
Yes. I have in my Instagram. I have two links. There's one straight to the physical, and another one to the digital. But if you go to the digital one, which that one's $1. The book's hardcover $25, and the digital one's $1.
There you go.
Honestly, if it's $1, please, I just want you to read it. I want you to tell me what you think. What I want right now. I want your money greedily, and like if I become a big writer, sure. but right now,
it's the forwardness that gets to me.
I just want to know, because there are people who love horror. I'm like, yo, did I do it? Did I get? Because I'm so happy to hear that you which I'm very lucky enough to, a lot of people believe that I got it right in like 2 pages. There's one called a story in there called Only Third. It's only 2 pages.
Only Third.
It's barely like 800 words.
I love that one.
But I've been told so much that it tells so much in such a short time. And so I just want to know that the most. So if you go to the digital one has a link also to the hardcover, which has a preview of the book too, and you get some good stories in there because that first one I always hear about that first. We got a friend Mark who wants to direct that first one, and it's my ode to slashers. It's my ode to what a slasher type movie would.
Nice. I would love to see that. And if you would like to see what I personally provide as an artist, please follow me at Catalyst Jost. That is CATALY5TJ05T on Instagram. And if you would love to see what Life on Saturn Productions provides in terms of the artverse, please follow Life on Saturn Productions on YouTube and Facebook, and on Instagram, you will follow it at Life on Saturn Comics. And with all that being said, folks, please keep your vibes dope, keep your zen flowing, and as always, peace.